Okay, we're recording this for some absent students today. We are on world record for the best Friday ever after the worst Wednesday and Thursday. Friday means two things. The first is that it's the last day before I have 2 days off school. I like to think of it as a non-altercation suspension. Plus, the weekend was when me and Ma actually did stuff and not just watch movies and avoid homework because she didn't work on weekends and took early morning online nursing classes to get them out of the way. And when she was done, we would clean the house. I was in charge of the living room. Ma would give me a version of a haircut. She always got most of it even. Then give herself one. And then we would go over to my Aunt Sophie's house. Aunt Sophie is my mom's younger sister. And she's like the coolest lady ever. She has a tattoo on her arm that says Sweetie Pie. And I never asked about it, but always stared at just because I can't wait to get one of my own. But mine ain't going to say nothing like that. Mine is going to say world's greatest. Or, of course, ghost. Anyway, on the weekends, Aunt Sophie and my mom sit around and play cards and crack jokes and eat corn chips with cheese dip. And sometimes they let me and King, Aunt Sophie's son, sit with them and play. Yes, we can play. Me and King learned how to play spades and tonk when we were real young. It's a thing in our family, a serious thing. And yes, his real name is King. I think the sisters just wanted to give us royal names. So yeah, all I had to do was get through Friday without any problems, and I was good to go for the weekend. The other thing about Friday, which I didn't know until Thursday, is that Coach gives everybody the day off. No practice. And then, of course, since this was the first Friday of the season, Coach was taking the newbies out for dinner. After 2 half days of school, which technically equals 1 full day, I'm happy to say that school was pretty smooth on Friday. Brandon Simmons was back, and even though I had on my regular dusty butt shoes, the fancy ones for 4-track only, Brandon didn't have too much to say to me. I saw him just before first period, and he walked right past me and Dre. I saw some of the other kids snickering at him as he passed, but I told them all to chill. I don't know why, because he totally deserved to be roasted. But I guess I felt kind of bad for the dude. I've been there. I can't believe you're giving this clown a pass, Dre said. It was almost like he's had a year's worth of laughs stored up, waiting to unload them on Brandon. Everybody did, but I just couldn't let it happen. Funny thing was, when I saw Shamika in Mr. Howell's class, she apologized to me about everything that went on in class the day before. And that, my friends, is what you call karma. Plus, like I said, she was the cool girl anyway. At lunch, she even sat with me, Red, and Dre and told us every story about time she cut things just because she was feeling a little guilty. There was one time I cut my hair. Man, that was crazy. Just straight up started hacking it off like a maniac just because it was hot and my hair was on my neck, she said first, just before taking a bite of her burger. Then, in the midst of chewing, she continued. And another time, I cut a pair of jeans into shorts while I still had them on. That was not smart. Still got the scars on my leg. And then she erupted into laughter just like she did in class. But this time, she was the butt of her own joke. And even though me, Dre, and Red didn't really find it that funny, we couldn't help but laugh too because, well, that's what her laugh makes you do. Before I knew it, school was over, and I went to my usual walk home. I mean, Coach wasn't coming until later, so I figured there was no rush. So I went to Mr. Charles's store. Let me guess, sunflower seeds, Mr. Charles said. He turned the little TV down as usual. Let me guess, $1? I said, slapping my money on the counter. I grabbed the bag. You okay, son? Mr. Charles asked. Yeah, why? Oh, you know, all that stuff that happened yesterday with you being teased, and then you came here and He stopped short. I was starting to feel a little annoyed that he even brought it up because I was definitely trying to forget about it, especially that last part, the stockroom part. Talk about weird. Not that I hadn't thought about it. I mean, how could I not? But every time my father's face or the sound of his angry voice or the sound of the gun cocking popped into my mind, I would just shake it out of my head by thinking about my bullets, the silver bullets. But you just can't be mad at an old James Brown-faced man like Mr. Charles. You just can't. Yeah, man, I assured him. I'm cool. I'm actually in a good mood. Oh, yeah? He asked. I used my teeth to rip open the corner of the bag. Yep. Got a dinner thing I'm going to tonight for my track team, I said, all proud. Track team? Mr. Charles asked, now turning the TV down even more. You're on a track team, Castle? Yes, sir, I started to say, but it's hard to try to talk and get a seed out of the shell at the same time. So I waited until I got it done, then continued. Remember, I told you yesterday. You did? Mr. Charles asked, now turning the TV down even more. Mr. Charles looked puzzled. The old brain's getting wonky these days. Sorry, son. It's cool. I tapped the bag on my palm to get a few more seeds out. Oh, yeah, I'm on a team called the Defenders, one of the best teams in the city. I didn't know you were an athlete, Mr. Charles seemed impressed. Well, I am. A pretty good one, too, I bragged, tossing the seeds in my mouth and then casually slapping my hand against my thigh to brush the salt off. A shock of soreness shot down to my knee, a painful reminder that I was definitely an athlete. Ugh. Mr. Charles twisted the top off of cranberry juice and took a sip. I believe you. I told you, kid. You're one of the world's greatest. Got that right, I said, now spitting shells in my hand. One of the world's greatest. After I left the store, I headed to stop 2, the bus stop. I took a seat next to an older woman. She was doing a crossword puzzle and humming a song I didn't recognize. She might have been making it up. It didn't sound bad, though. Across the street at this gym were all the people working out, the Walking Dead. That's what they looked like. Anyway, I hung out there for a little while before moving on. When I got to Martin Luther King Park, I looked down at the track, and there wasn't nobody there except for a man jogging with his dog, but nobody else, no real runners. After that, there was really no place else to go but home, and I wasn't ready to go there yet. So I went to the basketball court. At the court, as usual, all the older guys were there running 5s for cash. I knew some of them just because they were always there playing, like Pop, who was probably in his 20s or something like that. I don't even think he was anybody's dad, but everybody called him Pop anyway. He was a short dude with crazy handles and a mean jumper. He was one of those guys who could do all the tricks and stuff. Shake you right out of your socks like it was nothing. And Sicko was there too, but luckily for me, he didn't have his crazy dog with him. Sicko wasn't really that good at basketball, but he was super rough. He probably should have been a football player or a wrestler. Big James was there too. He was like the best player ever to me. He looked like he really played pro ball. 6 feet something, all muscle. People always said Big James played college ball but never went pro. I never knew what he did for a living. All I knew was that he was always on the court, dominating the game, taking everybody's money. So I guess basketball was what he did for a living after all. Besides the hoopers, there were a bunch of other people at the court, just hanging out. Girls, some were the girlfriends of the guys playing, and others wanted to be the girlfriends of the guys playing, and junkies. They'd just be zombied out, roaming through the outside of the court. They knew better than to mess up the game. They'd just walk along the outside of bounds, like it was a tightrope, waiting for Goose. Goose was the dope man, who happened to be a pretty good ball player. Super flashy, but all around nice guy. Well, except for the drug part. The court was where he served in more ways than one. I chilled there for a while, watching Sicko push everybody around until what always happens happened. A fight. As usual, stupid Sicko pushed the wrong guy, a guy I didn't know. And that guy pushed Sicko back, and then Pop got into it, and then Big James's girl, and then some other girl. And then a junkie started howling like a wolf. And then I was out.